What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. It looks like the Lakers are trying to secretly trade for an ex-player. They're trying to secretly trade for a player that I thought that gave them a lot of value at one point in time when he was there. And the player that I'm speaking of is Caldwell-Pope, KCP. KCP was there a couple seasons ago and actually helped them acquire a championship in the bubble, which a lot of people put an asterisk by. And a lot of people don't respect the bubble championship. So I respect your opinion either way. But nevertheless, he was there. He was a part of the operation. And he did help the Lakers win a championship because him spacing the floor the way he did and playing the defense that he played, also on the other end, making some crucial defensive plays and stuff like that at times when they needed it, was very, very crucial to their success. Along with Danny Green and Alex Caruso and a few others, or like Rondo and stuff like that. But still, he was definitely a big part of, what they were trying to do. And LeBron loved having him there because he was another shooter that could space the floor, that can catch and shoot, was comfortable with doing it and comfortable in his role and his position, and played it at a high level when he was asked to. So, I mean, that's all the Lakers really could ask for. And, secretly now they're trying to, find a way, I believe, to get him back, because him being, actually him and Kyle Kuzma is another name on the Washington Wizards as well that's out there too. So they might actually try to get him back as well, because he was somebody off the bench that did give them some scoring and stuff like that, did give them another option off the bench. I mean, eventually he probably could have became the sixth man of the year possibly, if he ever would have got his game to a certain point, in which I definitely believe Kuzma could have, especially being around LeBron's and people like that, Anthony Davis, people that you see that superstars in this league. You will want to develop your game the more you're around great talent. And when you're winning, it helps a lot of things. It helps you play better, confidence is better, all that stuff. So I definitely think he might be, somebody that they're looking at as well secretly. Because, for a while now, the Lakers have been trying to trade THT, Taylor Horton-Tucker, but for some reason they kind of want to hold on to him, and then sometime they want to trade him. They're kind of like up and down with THT. They're not really like consistent with him for some reason. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like they like his upside, but they don't like it enough to, put their foot down and say, hey, this is our guy, we're going to keep him for the future. They're kind of up and down about him because because predominantly that's the way his game is, up and down. Sometimes he looks like he can really help the team become, be a future, aspect for the team going forward. And then there's times where he looks like he's just a bust. You see what I'm saying? Or he just doesn't belong on that team. So, they're really kind of up and down with him, and I definitely understand why, because I'm the same way with THT. I just don't understand. Sometimes he looks really good. Sometimes he looks trashy. Sometimes, he looks adequate. You know what I'm saying? You just never know what you're getting out of him. At least I'll say that when I looked at him this past season. Maybe this is the worst season to judge him on, but I looked at him this past season. A lot of games, he just looks confused to me. He doesn't look like he knows his role. He doesn't look like, he's comfortable in his own skin, sort of say. So, I think that he would be somebody that would be dealt if they were to get back somebody like, KCP and or, Kyle Kuzma, and that, like I said, now they'd be rounding back into shape to some of their championship pieces that they had, even though they might not be the most crucial pieces, but they still were a part of that championship roster. And I could tell you, they still, they still play good, good enough to win a championship. And that's all that matters. You see what I'm saying? So, of course, it's all about LeBron and AD, how they're going to fare into this season coming up. But the pieces around you definitely matter as well if you want to win a championship, because it's a team game at the end of the day. So, secretly, I think the Lakers have, their sights on one of those players, if not both. If they could, because like I said, they got to find a way to appeal to last season. This last season that just passed was the worst Lakers season in history I've ever seen, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would attest to what I'm saying, and they would agree. This is the worst Lakers team ever assembled, and if this is the product you're going to put on the floor, then you're going to have problems going forward, because this is not the product that people want to see. This is not the product that the fans, wish to have, and this is not them missing a play-in tournament is not ideal for any Lakers franchise from way back then to now, even though the play-in tournament wasn't created back then. But it never had to be for the Lakers because they was automatically a playoff lock every single year. Or, they didn't make the playoffs every single year, but they didn't look this bad to me. I mean, it was tougher back then to make the playoffs because in the Western Conference back then, you had to have like 50 wins or like 48 wins to be an 8th seed at one time. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't like it is, maybe now, with the play-in tournament, you could have about 40 wins or something like that and, make the play-in tournament or, possibly, I mean, it's different now. So, I mean, it's much different now. So, I mean, it's a much easier ride now of having the play-in tournament because it gives you a chance to be like the 10th seed and still have a chance to make the playoffs. Whereas back in the day, there was no such thing. So, I mean, it's even easier to get into at least a play-in tournament to maybe advance to the playoffs possibly. And the Lakers couldn't even do that. So, I mean, they have to do something. I mean, so I wouldn't be surprised if they secretly trying to look for somebody else as well. I mean, that they might have had in the past before. I mean, hey, maybe secretly they're looking at Rondo again. Who knows? But they got to do something, because they have to, make amends for this past season because it just wasn't right. And it just didn't, pan out right for them, as a team collectively. And they just really, found themselves, behind the whole season. And that's not, ideal for them. That's not ideal for this team. It's not ideal for, anything that they're trying to do going forward. So, I mean, we just have to see exactly, what they can do or who else they could bring in. Now, of course, we hear all the Kyrie Irving talk and all that type stuff. So, we have to see how that pans out. I personally, I'm looking at this situation with the Kyrie thing. It's possible. It's a very good chance, he can come to the Lakers. It really is, right now. So, I mean, that's a big plus. And if they secretly add a couple pieces like these pieces I'm talking about here with KCP and or Kuzma, I'm saying, with the addition of like a Kyrie or somebody like that, along with, Anthony Davis and LeBron, or maybe trade Anthony Davis or Russell Westbrook, whoever knows how that situation would work out. But they would be a really solid team. They'd be a lot better than what they were last year, and they definitely would make the playoffs. I don't know how far they would go in the playoffs because, like I said, even if they acquire Kyrie, I don't know what Kyrie they're getting. Kyrie can want to, take a trip to NASA and go to space or something like that. And, say that's his calling, and then he'll quit basketball for a while, maybe come back. Who knows what Kyrie, he's just such an up and down guy. He's definitely not trustworthy. But, I definitely see why teams take chances on him because he got all the talent in the world, but he's just so, mentally different than everybody else. And, he looks at basketball like a hobby or something like that. He doesn't look at it as a career. You see what I'm saying? And that's the one thing about Kyrie I don't respect. And if it was me personally, I wouldn't even get Kyrie just for those reasons, because we've seen him basically quit on teams. I mean, he quit on Brooklyn last year until they lifted that mandate where he was able to play and all that stuff. He was willing to sit out the whole season and going forward, because of his own recognizance. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, he's all about himself. He's not about team. You see what I'm saying? And that right there, I would have thought he would have grown from that by now. But to me, he hasn't. And to me, he's still all about himself. And I feel like that's the reason why the Nets were embarrassed this year or this past year by getting swept in the playoffs. I mean, it just looked ultimately bad. You having Kevin Durant and Kyrie and getting swept in the playoffs. I mean, that's just unreal. I mean, I can't really imagine that. So, we'll have to see what happens with him. But as far as KCP and, Kyle Kuzma, well, mainly KCP, the secret is definitely getting out that they're definitely looking into possibly bringing him back, to the Lakers. That definitely would be a huge, a seamless fit, for them to have somebody like him there. Because, like I said, he still plays defense pretty well. And like I said, he's a knockdown shooter. And like I said, shooters, you always can use them. And that's the reason why the Lakers weren't that good this season, because they ain't had the shooters around them. They ain't had the floor spacing around them as they usually do, or they've had in the past. So we'll see what happens with this situation. And we'll see if KCP finds his way back secretly to the Lakers, and maybe they add a couple other pieces and, see what their offseason looks like. And we'll give it a grade from there and kind of see, what potentially they have, what product they're going to put out on the floor for next season. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. Check out my other videos as always. And hey, Cali out.